Rorschach's Journal, October 20, 2019. Discarded comic found in dumpster. Money sign burned onto it. Intellectual property is extended gutters, and the gutters are full of bland remakes, sequels, and prequels. The accumulated filth of all the unoriginal, money-making projects will foam up about the public's waist, and all the fans and normies will look up and shout, "Give us something new." And I'll look down and whisper, "No." Where am I?
Walter Kovac.
That's not my name.
Rorschach, it's been 34 years since your death, and I have brought you back to life. We have a matter of great importance to attend to.
What?
I need your help. Reviewing an HBO sequel to the original Watchmen comic.
Never. I won't help you.
It features a group of white nationalists using your Rorschach mask as a symbol of racism. It begins with a silent black and white film. A man in all black chases a man in all white. We find out that the man in black is Bass Reeves, a U.S. Marshal who has captured the town sheriff, a cattle thief. Bass Reeves was a real person, the first black marshal west of the Mississippi River. He even arrested his own son when he was accused of murder. A strict adherence to ideology will probably be a reoccurring theme in the show.
Typical old western. Man in black, bad. Man in white, good. Possible looks can be deceiving theme, or simple theme about race. Or that those charged with protecting people can be corrupt and evil, like Veidt. What year is this?
1921.
Who in 1921 would make a movie about a black marshal arresting a white sheriff?
Seems very unlikely. We see a small child is the only one in the theater. The townspeople want to lynch the sheriff, but the marshal says, "No mob justice today. Trust in the law." Again, a repeated theme.
The kid watching knows the line of dialogue by memory. There's a siren going off. The boy's mother is playing piano for the movie. Fantasy distracting us from the dangers of reality.
Something explodes as the boy's father rushes in with a rifle. He's wearing some kind of military uniform, probably World War I.
Wait a minute. Why would a former soldier hand a rifle to his wife, who should be far less trained than him, and then carry their son?
Because the year is 2019, and we must defy gender roles.
I thought you said it was 1921.
It is. It is also Tulsa, Oklahoma, when a massive race riot occurred. A prosperous black section of the town was attacked by a mob of armed white people, who ended up killing hundreds and set the town on fire, leaving thousands homeless.
Why?
A black teenager was falsely accused of sexually assaulting a white teenage girl. A mob tried to lynch the boy when he was at the courthouse. Black residents of Tulsa, including many veterans, helped the sheriff protect the courthouse. Gunfire was exchanged, and the situation escalated. Again, the theme of mob justice. Or possibly even a darker theme. Even though most would consider it a great injustice to allow the boy to be wrongly lynched, it would have protected the town from being destroyed. All those people's lives would have been saved. Adrian Veidt, at the end of Watchmen, was operating under the idea that sacrificing innocence to save more people was a worthwhile goal.
Wait, if the mother has the gun, shouldn't she be the one in front, leading and protecting her family? Why is the father who's holding his child, the person they want to protect the most, in front?
They are probably filming the scene when some producer told the wife and husband to swap gun and child to appear more progressive, but they forgot or just didn't have time to go back and change the actor's blocking.
The family makes it to some kind of warehouse in a getaway carriage, but they only have room for the kid. As they're escaping, a plane drops a stick of dynamite nearby, causing an explosion. Did stuff like that really happen?
There is some debate, but witnesses report seeing planes dropping flaming turpentine balls to start fires. After the explosion, the child awakens to find the driver's dead and has some blood on his forehead, just like the comedian's button.
I get it. Ha ha.
He has a note that says "Watch over this boy" that appears to be written on the back of a form identifying his father as having served in the military.
He then finds a baby girl wrapped in an American flag blanket. Perhaps the protagonist?
Unlikely. She would be too old. The mother, perhaps? How did you know the baby was a girl?
She has a pink bonnet.
Did you just assume that baby's gender?
What?
The kid looks back at his city in flames. It is a powerful image.
This is immediately ruined by weird floating text displaying the title of the episode behind him. Then as he walks away, the somber music turns to an even more out-of-place rap song. Why would they do that?
It was a bad decision. We then switch to the same street in modern times. They show the car as a hybrid, even though I invented fully electric cars in the 80s. Perhaps this has to do with the lithium conspiracy that will come up later.
The guy driving the car is the one who was listening to the rap music. He's getting pulled over by the police and freaks out, spilling his soda on himself. His nervousness, the angle of the police car slowly pulling up, him putting his hands clearly on the wheel, all implies the police are feared by the people. Fear can be good. Keeps the scum in line.
The driver says he's carrying lettuce, and the officer asks to look. The driver asks if he can see his face, and we pull out to find the officer is wearing a mask. Tension increases. The driver is clearly afraid of being shot. This references current feelings about the police, being too quick to shoot people. Although interestingly, the race component is reversed, with the cop being black and the driver white.
The cop sees a dirty cloth and thinks it's my face, so he goes back to his car and looks anxious, adding some nuance to the cop-perp dynamic. We learn that for some reason, cops have to request permission to use their firearm that's actually locked in a holder until someone else remotely releases it. The guy who has the authority to do that is named Panda, and it's clear the cop doesn't like him.
The Panda makes the officer answer a lot of questions to unlock his gun, and afterwards the locking mechanism doesn't work. It's not clear whether it's a glitch, Panda's screwing with them, or Panda's secretly working with the Rorschach gang, because as soon as the gun is unlocked, the driver is actually one of the Rorschach members, and he shoots the officer several times with an automatic weapon at close range. Afterwards, he reaches into the back of his truck and pulls out a head of lettuce and throws it into the officer's car.
Something doesn't add up. Why was the scene shot so that we think the driver is right to be afraid, implying some sort of police brutality narrative, only to see that he was the criminal the whole time?
Perhaps like the opening of the silent film, to show that original expectations can be deceiving.
Huh. But he really did have lettuce. Was he actually just legally transporting it and also happened to be part of this criminal group? Or is lettuce part of their plan? And the cop, would he have survived if he had his gun sooner? Doesn't this go counter to the current year narrative you were talking about in regards to police shooting?
It would seem. We'll have to wait and see where they're going with this.
Regardless, that officer definitely dies after being riddled with bullets. What?
Nothing. Then more inappropriate music starts, as we see an all-black performance of the classic musical Oklahoma.
Is there some symbolism here?
Perhaps. Oklahoma is about settlers trying to build a life in newly conquered Native American land. Although the musical itself portrays things rather simplistically, it covers many topics and themes that would raise concern by today's standards. The title of the episode is also a line from a song in the musical, but we'll come back to that.
The majority of the audience is black, except for a white couple. He seems to be enjoying the performance honestly, when a cop whispers in his ear about the shooting. He leaves, and we find out that all the cops wear masks. Though some get special masks like this guy, who has a reflective one. The cowboy asks if they brought his uniform. Then we find out, wow, I can't believe it. How the heck did that guy survive? He was shot multiple times in the chest with a fully automatic weapon.
Judd, the police chief, does seem sincerely upset by one of his officers being hospitalized. He changes into what looks like an officer's dress uniform, but doesn't wear a mask. Later we find out that officers started wearing masks 3 years ago. Perhaps he's been police chief for so long, he feels it would be pointless to protect his identity. He identifies the guy in the Rorschach mask as being part of a group called the 7th Cavalry, and they thought they had gone away 3 years ago.
Mirror Mask mentions the head of lettuce, as if lettuce is actually contraband in this place. The chief asks if there are any croutons. Seems like it would be a joke, but his demeanor and the music are serious, so I'm uncertain as to what they're trying to convey.
He then tells Wade to pull his face down, a reference to you, Rorschach, though it seems like just a reference, and they're not implying this guy views himself primarily as his masked persona as you do.
Poser.
The chief informs the officer's wife of his condition, but then immediately starts interrogating her about whether she told anyone he was an officer. In this world, the majority of police officers' identities are kept secret.
This scene doesn't make a lot of sense outside of exposition. They knew he was shot while conducting a normal stop. His secret identity shouldn't be relevant here. It just makes the chief come off as kind of a huge prick to a shocked wife. And that's coming from me.
Though he does manage to salvage it by being nice in the end. It is a confusing interaction.
Then we see you on Mars. Why are you on Mars? I thought you said you were leaving the galaxy at the end of Watchmen.
I did, but then they couldn't hype up me being on the show.
The size is way off. You should be way smaller in that picture compared to the building.
You forget I can change size.
True. Still looks weird though, as if you're making sandcastles. Maybe that's supposed to be the point.
We see the iconic Watchmen happy face button with blood.
This visual is overlaid as the protagonist, Angela, tells school children about separating egg whites from egg yolks. This is all very reminiscent of a racist talking about keeping blacks and whites separated, so I'm not sure what the message of the scene is. We're assuming Angela isn't racist.
When the camera zooms out, we see some things of interest. A squid over a rain cloud. We will find out that it rains squid regularly here. It says Vietnam 52. We find out that after the war, Vietnam was made a state. Will the 51st state also be important? In this planet mobile, it looks as if there's water on Mars. Perhaps my doing.
The display also has repeated planets. Significant, or just a screw-up by the prop guy? There's also 4 globes here. Most classrooms only have 1. Some sort of multi-Earth, multi-timeline going on? Oh, and another squid reference. And there, Robert Redford is currently president. That's a joke from the original Watchmen, where it says, RR, an actor is running for president. We initially assume it's Ronald Reagan, but then find out it's actually Robert Redford. Funny joke.
Angela says she grew up in Vietnam and used to be a police officer, but retired after being shot during an incident called the White Night. The implication is that the 7th Cavalry people attacked either all officers or just black police officers in their homes, and this is why the police hide their identity. So she's a baker now.
This doesn't make sense. If the police hide their identity, and she was already attacked in the past, why would she tell a room full of school children that she used to be a cop? Especially when we find out later that she still is a cop.
Exposition.
Woman pretends to bake cake and cookies, but is secretly fighting crime. Is this that current year thing you're talking about?
Yes. Then an obviously racist kid asks if she built her bakery with bread for rations, a play on the word reparations.
Was this a race thing or a cop thing? The little non-white girl behind him seems to think him asking is funny.
Then Angela's adopted son Topher attacks the kid. While they're driving home, an air siren goes off and Angela pulls over. We see everyone do the same, as well as those walking pull out umbrellas.
It then starts raining squid. A lot. If I had to guess, probably the work of Vite, aka Ozymandias. The people weren't buying the alien squid story he cooked up, so he's making it rain squid periodically to remind everyone of his fake alien invasion. Keep the fear going, keep them afraid, and they'll stay united.
There's also a street cleaning squid truck, implying this is a fairly common occurrence.
Those houses should not look that clean after a squid rain.
True, but the way that little girl says, "We're cleaning up squid," is pretty adorable. Also, we see a redesign of the 52-star state flag. It is ugly.
Angela's husband says her pager was going off. Why does she still have a pager, not a smartphone? And it says Little Bighorn, where Custer's last battle was. Custer was seen as a military hero at the time, but now is viewed as a racist butcher of Native Americans. Do we have a theme in this show about the definition of heroes and villains changing with time?
We find out that the Rorschach group calls itself the 7th Cavalry, which was Custer's unit, as well as the date of September 9th, 2019. It's possible something will happen on 9/11. Angela says she has to go to her bakery.
A bus drives by with an ad for a TV show about the first hero, Hooded Justice. Might be trash, just like the first Night Owl's book. Also, weird guy with sign that says, "Future is bright, but there's an upside-down Statue of Liberty," which would imply the opposite. Probably a reference to me, carrying my end is near sign. Is his character secretly important, or is it just a reference? She walks by an intricate mural, not sure what the implication is yet, almost looks religious. Paper declares Vite dead. I'll believe it when I see a body.
It also mentions the cavalry, aka the KKK, vandalizing the Statue of Liberty, though the article itself appears to be about a different topic, perhaps a prop mistake.
The kid with a sign had the Statue of Liberty upside down. Why would a black kid be celebrating a racist white organization?
Maybe the sign is trying to be ironic. Also, the squid shower we witnessed destroyed a homeless camp and killed 2 people, and something about the Maui coast in Hawaii being sold out.
Angela's building number is 11-9, inverse of 9/11. Their bakery logo is also a satire of the communist Vietnam flag. Seems strange considering America won the war in this universe. Unless they're trying to hint that some kind of communist takeover is coming soon. Also, suspicious old man outside. Asks when shop will open. Seems to know the bakery is fake and just a cover. He asks her if she thinks he can lift 200 pounds. Not sure what that means yet.
Inside the bakery, Angela goes into her secret hero base. The code to get in is 1985, the year Watchmen takes place.
Uses cross and rosary beads as weapons. Religious zealot. Name is Angela, like angel. Ha ha, good joke.
She drives to a trailer park called Nixonville. Multiple older 50s Star American flags are being displayed, implying some people are upset with Vietnam and the mystery state being added.
Someone isn't happy with President Redford, related to Redforations probably. Though why would you spray paint your own property? The guy inside is white. I don't think he got these Redforations. An angel statue blocks the entrance. Is this like Angela blocking these people symbolically, or is it a prop mistake?
She kicks this guy's trailer door in. President Redford is not seeking re-election. Then she knocks the guy out inside with rosary beads, literally hitting him over the head with religion, before dragging him back to the police station in the back of her trunk.
Inside, the police are watching a video of the scum who tried to steal my face. They even reenact my famous line from my journal, but they add a part about race traitors. I never said anything about race at all. The idea of a man stealing my face and attacking police and the government because they read my journal and think that Veidt worked with the US to create a fake alien invasion actually makes sense, if you removed all the race stuff. Maybe they came up with that idea first, and then shoehorned the race stuff in after.
They mention some form of retribution and chant the word tick-tock, emulating the Watchmen doomsday clock, referencing how close we were to nuclear war.
Chief wants them to roll up suspects in Nixonville. Looks like Angela beat them to it. Someone asked if they will have firearm access. The rules of this world don't make sense to me. If the police have to wear masks because criminals target them in their homes, why would there be such strong restrictions about their guns? You think they'd all be pretty armed to the teeth.
We see Panda, who is in charge of giving everyone firearm access. He's not wearing a police uniform, implying instead he's a government bureaucrat. His old dirty black and white mask could be a reference to you, Rorschach, just as he also wants to follow his ideology in a very strict black and white way, while not caring for his personal hygiene.
Or maybe he's a double agent, black and white mask, like the 7th Cavalry. The whole race traitor stuff could all be a diversion for some other goal.
Firearm access is granted, and Panda is not happy about it. The police then all stand and chant in Latin. It mirrors how the 7th Cavalry was chanting, implying that the difference between the police and the 7th Cavalry may not be as black and white as we believe. They ask who watches the Watchmen in Latin, again referencing the comic.
Then we see Angela sitting at the chief's desk. Stereotype, cliche, loose cannon cop who doesn't play by the rules. Also owl mug, like Dan, former Night Owl.
Angela's mad about not being notified of the shooting. There's a copy of the first Night Owl's book exposing the darker side of superheroing on the chief's desk.
Unusual. Chief thinks Angela would be opposed to giving everyone firearm access. Why would he think that? Everything so far paints her as the opposite. Kick door in first, ask questions later. She tells him she already has a suspect in her trunk. Mirror Mask then interrogates the guy in something called the pod.
This guy remarks that Angela is dressed like a nun. If this lady kicked my door down and then immediately punched me in the face, I'm not sure I would have got that. Looking Glass then asks him a series of questions while images flash around them.
Nixon has been added to Mount Rushmore. Good man.
He asks if he thinks the squid at the end of Watchmen and the squid rain are really hoaxes created by the government, and he says maybe. This would align with the group copying Rorschach's look. He also repeatedly asks him if he's part of the 7th Cavalry. He denies it.
Mirror Mask asks if all Americans should pay taxes, and he says yes.
It's not mentioned in the episode, but on their website, Radforations means that ancestors of black slaves no longer have to pay taxes, so they would be implying that he's against that. And probably racist.
Interrogation ends. Mirror Mask says he knows. They use the background images to measure pupil size and reaction as some sort of lie detector. Good trick.
This allows Angela to beat up the suspect to get information. The original Watchmen dealt with the idea of going too far in the name of justice. Yet so far in this show, every instance of police force has been justified, even acts that would be considered illegal by real-world standards. We'll see if that will change as the show progresses.
He tells her where the shooter is. Need more cops like her. They go to where the perp is on a cattle ranch. Strange building lit up in the distance. Will probably be important later.
There are 9 agents approaching.
Not sure why she has a pistol when everyone else has rifles.
They use the cattle as cover. Perhaps this is a metaphor for the police using the populace as cover, or general people just getting caught in the crosshairs of these kind of conflicts.
Chief has some type of high-tech aerial camera that can see through buildings. Impressive. The people who stole my face are collecting watch batteries.
Hope there's an actual reason for that, and it's not just another Watchmen reference. Despite shoddy interior, they have high-tech parameter detection. No cops coming.
They hand out pills before engaging the police. We find out that these are the same suicide pills Adrian Veidt gave to the fake assassin he had to go after himself. Is this simply a reference? Or is there a connection to Adrian?
They have a Gatling gun on a truck and start mowing those poor cows down. Stupid. Should have just fired a couple times to spook them so they ran. Then cops would be sitting ducks, not running cows. Ha ha.
I'm not sure how much cover a cow body would give you against a high-caliber Gatling gun. 2 members of the 7th Cavalry then get into an old-fashioned plane. For some reason, this surprises the people who have aerial X-ray technology.
When they stop to reload, Nun Lady is able to run up and shoot one. The gunner escapes. Good thing they were too stupid to have sidearms.
Where are the other 9 officers? Some might want to provide cover, but more than one would have rushed the gun when they went to reload, especially since they want to take these guys in alive and question them.
Maybe they all died, and they just didn't show it.
Angela gets in a fight with the guy inside. Still no one comes to help her.
Maybe they're trying to save the cows.
Then we witness a small 48-year-old woman beat up a guy more than twice her size.
She's got a lot of moxie.
But it's all for naught, as apparently he had the suicide pill in his mouth the whole time. Seems like it'd be pretty easy to accidentally swallow in a fist fight.
She uselessly slaps his face. That's not how you get someone to spit something out. She has many kids. Should know better. Never heard of racists killing themselves for a cause. Implies something bigger.
Red shows up after everything's already over, and does nothing. He has a thick Russian accent, as well as the obvious color association with communism. It's possible there was a US-USSR treaty, including some kind of police officer swap program. We also don't know if the USSR is still together or not in this world, after Adrian's fake alien attack successfully ended the Cold War.
What the hell? The chief is in Dan's flying vehicle. How? How could a random police department in Oklahoma have that?
We don't know if this is Dan's actual vehicle. Could be some kind of replica.
Must be a bad one. They're having trouble catching up to an old-fashioned, rickety 2-seater plane. Chief gets tired of the chase and flamethrowers it out of the sky. The plane explodes, but pieces slam into them, causing them to crash. Stupid.
As the owl ship crashes, we see that the police chief is not strapped into anything, but is only holding onto the roof.
It crashes and flips several times. The chief is definitely dead or seriously injured from being thrown around the cabin. The nun tries to kick the glass in, the glass that did not break from the high-speed crash, instead of looking for an escape latch.
But they manage to get out on their own. Turns out they're both completely fine. Then they have a good laugh about it.
That seems very unlikely.
Then we see a castle that looks very similar to the one I built and destroyed on Mars.
I told you Veidt's not dead.
It's possible, though the scenes with Adrian could all be flashbacks.
Why is Adrian naked?
Yes, being naked is my thing. Maybe they want to imply that he's losing his humanity. Though of course you could make the argument that my lack of clothing in the original Watchmen was actually me trying to subconsciously remind everyone that I was still human. I guess we'll have to see where this goes.
The servants are acting strange. Both of them call him master, and they look at him with childlike love and admiration. They must not be human.
They don't blink a lot, which would imply androids. But Adrian does have a history of genetic engineering. They could have been grown somewhere.
Mentions anniversary celebration. Color and shape of cake. Must be the anniversary of when he killed millions in New York with his squid. Wait a minute. Adrian teleported the squid to New York on November 2nd. But earlier, Angela's beeper said it was September 9th. So either they made a huge mistake in the script, or you're right about this being a flashback. If Adrian came up with a new plan, and it went into effect after he died, it would seem more credible that he wasn't involved. Maybe they'll copy the end of the comic, with the heroes coming to stop Adrian, but they find out they're too late, since he's already dead, and the plan is already in motion.
He is also completely alone, and they sing, "He's a jolly good fellow," that nobody can deny. He still seeks validation for his actions.
She said they used a honeycomb Veidt gave her. Not sure what it means. He doesn't look happy about it, though he pretends to. One offers him a horseshoe to cut the cake. Obviously not human. Have some kinks to work out.
One of Adrian's Roman helms is in the background. Interesting. Adrian eats the cake and does not like it, but then pretends he does. That's very unlike him. Perhaps he views these creations as his children. It will make it all more impactful when he has to sacrifice them.
What?
As a gift, they make him a pocket watch based off a discarded design they found of Adrian's. He is genuinely happy about this. Is he happy about the gift itself, or about his creations creating something on their own without his direction? Adrian then says he's writing a play, a tragedy in 5 acts, and he wants these two to have the leading roles. The play most likely refers to some new plan he has to unite the world, or possibly try and end racism. Tragedy implies lots of people will die, as they did with his first plan, and the leading roles would imply that these two will be the delivery mechanism for whatever his plan is.
Wasn't once enough? Veidt wants to do this again?
Adrian was quite bothered by the possibility of his plan not working after so many people died. I don't believe he would try a similar plan again unless the first one was successful.
The play is called The Watchmaker's Son, obviously talking about you. You can't see his plan in the future?
No. There's too much interference.
Tachyons?
No. Plot.
Anyways, after a long night of killing racists and almost dying, they have a nice family dinner together.
In the original Watchmen, whenever Dan and Sally fought criminals or engaged in heroing, they would seem to get sexually turned on. It was part of the commentary about the type of people who would be attracted to the heroing lifestyle. Not sure if this is supposed to be the inverse of that.
The song Unforgettable plays in the background. What is unforgettable? Adrian's attack on New York? Meanwhile, the chief takes a whiff of cocaine. The nun notices, but doesn't seem surprised.
The families joke about Angela skipping the performance of Oklahoma, and we learn that the chief played the main character of Oklahoma in high school.
She wrongly tells the kid that Curly in Oklahoma kills the bad guy Judd, when in reality he falls on his own knife. Not sure if this is important or not.
The chief sings a rendition of the song People Will Say We're in Love, a song about two characters who are in love, but they try to convince themselves they're not, in order to avoid town gossip. It is a well-acted scene that made even me feel something.
Makes me think of an incoming tragedy. There's also an ominous ticking sound that starts to play in the background, calling back to the 7th Cavalry's threat. Although the chief seems to linger on the nun a little bit too long, and gets the friendly shoulder tap from her husband. If that was intentional, it's pretty good acting. Possible secret relationship between chief and the nun.
After dinner, Angela and Judd talk outside about the 7th Cavalry collecting watch batteries. Apparently it's a special kind of synthetic lithium, the one that I use to make electric cars, and has been outlawed because they believe it was giving people cancer. This is a reference to Adrian's plan in the original Watchmen, where he gave people I interacted with cancer, in order to make it seem like people being around me were simply getting cancer. The website goes into further detail, explaining that the government not only believes the technology I made gives people cancer, but it and certain wireless technologies were actually responsible for weakening the barriers between our world and the world they think Adrian's alien squid came from. And that's why nobody has smartphones.
Maybe their plan is to somehow try and prove that the synthetic lithium had nothing to do with the squid appearing in New York. The ticking sound continues, and the angle of the house leads us to believe it will explode. Surprisingly, it doesn't. Intentional fake out.
Judd is on the phone with the governor, while a promo for the Hooded Justice show plays in the background. He has 2 clocks and chess pieces. The assassin that Adrian hired to go after himself was named Roy Chess. There are also 7 horse-related things in the room. Adrian was riding a horse in his first scene. Could a connection be that simple?
Wife mentions illegal drug use. Doesn't seem that concerned.
Judd is then informed that the officer who was shot is beginning to wake up. Once again, he references the importance of changing into his uniform. His wife comments that he shouldn't drive on account of the drugs, and he says he'll have an officer drive him.
The camera zooms in on a photo of the chief with his father, who was also a cop. Not sure what it means. First Night Owl was a cop, but there was never a mention of him having a child. Next part strange. Chief lies to wife. Many officers outside his house, yet he drives off alone.
The motion sensor lights don't light up very far in advance. Not a practical design.
Radio plays, talking about Senator Keene. Keene is the one that authored the bill to outlaw heroes. Don't like him. Radio wants his son to be president. Also mentions more land that people can't live on. Maybe has to do with this mystery 51st state. There's also a 6-month federal waiting period to get a gun.
Judd's tires go flat, and he pulls over to find a nail strip in the road.
Strange that he seems to be acting rather nonchalantly when he knows the 7th Cavalry is active again, and they were infamous for attacking cops. The strobe light goes off and he just stands there dumbfounded.
We then see Angela having sex with her husband.
Disgusting.
Another gender role reversal. The phone rings, and it's the husband who wants to stop and answer it out of fear that it'll wake the kids, while Angela wants to continue.
Is this the current year thing you were talking about?
Yes, though she does eventually answer the phone, and someone says he knows who she is, and who her father is, and she should come see something by a tree at a very specific location. And wow, her husband sure is ripped. It really highlights that the actress playing Angela should have gotten pumped up for the role.
How old is this guy?
33. He was Manta in Aquaman.
Why would a 33-year-old man be married to a 48-year-old woman?
Perhaps she's a cougar.
What's that?
You don't want to know.
She's driving with a gun on her dash? Not a good idea if you were to make a sudden stop.
That is true, but they wanted to have this nice visual.
She drives to the tree, and a bright light blinds her. Unlike the chief, she wisely gets her gun ready and uses her door for cover.
The light is turned off, and we find that Judd is dead and hanging by a noose on a tree. The man who asked Angela if she thought he could lift 200 pounds is there, implying he knew about Judd's murder in advance.
He must have worked with the killers, but why would he work with the 7th Cavalry, a supposed racist white supremacist organization?
Perhaps he sees time non-linearly as I do. Maybe him asking her if she thinks he can lift 200 pounds is really something he'll ask her after this event.
Wait, that's the same boy from the beginning. That would make him easily over 100 years old. And there's no way that handheld flashlight was that bright a light.
In the beginning, the boy watched a marshal capture a corrupt sheriff, but protected him from being lynched, and now the boy has seen the opposite occur in real life.
Are they implying the police chief was corrupt too? He's also missing a shoe. We don't see it on the ground. Maybe it'll come up later. And the last shot is of the chief's badge with blood on it, referring to the comedian's button.
Eddie told himself that the world was an absurd joke. He used his nihilism as an internal justification for his actions. However, when he found out about Adrian's plan to unite the world, Eddie had a mental breakdown. Eddie realized he was right. The world actually is dark and absurd, but that he never truly believed it. Eddie was unable to deal with the truth being exactly what he thought it was. The blood staining his smiling face button represented that stain on his ideology. Does this also represent Judd learning something before his death that destroyed his worldview? Or is it merely a visual reference?
And there's a weird song playing.
Poor Judd is Dead, another song from Oklahoma, where Curly, the supposed hero, tries to convince Judd, who is supposed to be the villain, to hang himself. Curly sings a satirical song about how everyone in town would actually mourn Judd and like him in death, even though they don't like him in life.
Doesn't seem very heroic. Another reference to a hero not looking heroic once time passes and attitudes change. Or maybe someone convinced the chief to kill himself.
So what did you think overall?
The acting was very good. Best part. The cinematography was good as well, except for the shaky cam in the beginning. It's a little nauseating. I liked the music when it made sense with the tone and wasn't trying to be ironic.
Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails did the music.
I'm worried about the writing.
How so?
There's lots of clues here, lots of potential foreshadowing and symbolism, and all these Watchmen references. If the clues lead nowhere, and the references are just references, the show will end up being awful. If all the cops are just good, and all the bad guys are just bad racists, it will be awful. But if the clues all lead somewhere, and the references actually relate to the deeper themes of Watchmen, if the show can build on that, and create something new, ask new questions, and broach new themes that are yet still related. If the story is far more nuanced than just cops fighting racist terrorists, it could be great. It's still too early to tell. In the original, all the heroes were messed up in some way.
They have yet to explain why race relations are so bad in this universe. Something pretty drastic had to have occurred to have a resurgence of the KKK, especially when they're attacking police. It's hard to imagine that reparations alone would cause all this. And if that is the only explanation, wouldn't that imply that trying to fix a problem only causes more harm? Perhaps that would relate to the darker interpretation of the Tulsa riots, of sacrificing for the greater good. I do not foresee that that idea would go over well with the current year crowd, nor do I see them liking the idea that police officers are all good and that they need more guns. Watchmen was also a deconstruction of the superhero genre, which means they took typical superhero cliches and showed how absurd they would look in the real world, and what costume heroes might have to be like if they really existed. So far, I don't see any hints of this show being a deconstruction of anything.
With the overabundance of cop shows on TV right now, it would be genius if the Watchmen TV show was a deconstruction of the cop genre, but I fear you might be right. But this is only the beginning. It can all be a setup, misdirection, everything planned out.
Possibly. But then again, this is written by Damon Lindelof, most known for Lost.
That's a bad sign.
Wait, how do you know about Lost? You've been dead for 34 years.
When you're dead, the only thing you can watch is Lost.
I'm so sorry.
Hey now!
Let me know if you want me to continue reviewing the episodes of Watchmen as they come out in the comments below. This video ended up taking way longer than I expected, so even if I do continue, I might drop the whole voices thing unless you guys really like it. The style of having characters in the show review the show was completely inspired by, which is a nice way of saying I stole, from Preston Jacobs, who has done this with both Game of Thrones and Westworld. I don't have any association with him, but I do love his reviews, and if you watch Game of Thrones or Westworld, I would highly recommend watching them. They're incredibly informative and completely hilarious. There's a link in the description below.